I have one question for you right now. Are you a runner? Do you run when things get tough? When you're faced with problems, obstacles, difficulties, hard people to get along with, just challenges, or maybe circumstances that are much bigger, and it's a financial crisis, a family crisis, or a spiritual crisis in your life. Do you run? Stay put? Do you fight? Which one are you? Well, I think we as a people have this tendency to run in general. We like to, when things get tough, we're gonna be on our way. We're gonna switch congregations. We're gonna walk away, ignore the problem, turn it around. Whatever it is, we run from the difficulties around us. And Yah doesn't want that. He wants us to walk forward and not stop the path we're going on, that he's placed us on, because difficulties are going to be on that path. Think about it. When we take off running because times are hard, because circumstances are hard, because people are difficult, because things ahead look scary, because we've let fear enter, and whatever the reason may be, when we turn around and run, what happens? Well, we're just like the spies. Yeah, they basically ran. And in their running, they faced death, and they never saw the blessing. But we do the same thing. Yah has us on his path, and we are supposed to move forward with it. We're not supposed to retreat. We're not supposed to duck and cover when things get tough. We've got to remember that he's there and he's taking care of us. And those difficulties are going to get us to the place we're supposed to be and develop us so that when we are placed into the position he's called us to, when we arrive at that place, that we can lead and be the men and women of God we're supposed to be. But Hasatan is going to do everything to thwart Yah's plan. And when we make progress and we're moving forward and we're walking on the path of righteousness, we are walking out what Yah's called us to do, the enemy's going to come against us, and he's going to cause fear or other things to drive us backward. We do one step forward, several steps back. But what kind of progress is that? And what kind of witness is that? Because the enemy's, one of his greatest tactics is to bring fear, to cause us to run, to retreat. A retreating army is not a victorious army. A retreating soldier is not necessarily a victorious soldier. But he wants us to move away and run from the circumstances that are in our lives. And, maybe so-and-so will think this about me, or this or that. The what ifs, we've talked about what ifs before. Those kind of words, what if, or may it be, those kind of words need to be removed from our language. Because we can say, what if I fail? What if I make a fool of myself? What if I didn't hear from God? What if I missed it? Well, what if other people make fun of me or disapprove? What if my reputation suffers? What if? Remove it, period. Remove it, because you trust in him. You trust in him and what he's done and what he's doing for you. And we are going to face crossroads. We're going to face places that are difficult, but we need to move through them. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We can't wait for our feelings to disappear, the feelings of fear or hesitation or lack of courage. We can't wait for those things to subside and then move forward, because they'll never subside. They'll always be there in one form or another. But if we trust Yah, step by step, we can learn to face our difficulties, face the trials, face the giants, and enjoy freedom. When we realize that feelings and emotions shouldn't be what controls us, not at all. Feelings and emotions are there for a reason, yes, but we are not supposed to succumb to them. We can't let them control us. There are moments in your life where you're not going to have an answer right at that moment, where an unexpected change might occur, but you cannot live by your feelings. Instead, you've got to do your best motions to move forward fearlessly, because you know that you're on the path of righteousness if you're seeking him, if you are his. and you're walking in his word and you have that intimacy with him, we cannot run, even though it's our first inclination. We can't stop. We have to keep moving forward. I want to give you an example of somebody. And I saw this on Facebook, a while back. And whether you like the guy or don't like the guy is irrelevant, but this is some facts about his life. And when we think we're facing difficulty, maybe we need to consider this. He was born in 1809. In 1860, at 7, he was forced to work because his family was expelled. In 1818, he lost his mother. He lost his sister in 1828. In 1831, he opened his first business, went bankrupt. In 1832, he stood in the legislative elections and lost. In 33, he borrowed money and to open another business and went bankrupt a second time. In 1835, he met a woman, fell in love with her, got engaged, and she died. In 1836, he entered into a deep depression and he was bedridden for 6 months, but he got up. And that same year, he ran for legislative elections. But guess what happened? He lost again. Did he give up? Did he retreat? Did he run? In any of these cases? No. In 1840, he presented himself as an elector. He lost. 42, he met a woman he would end his life with and fall in love again, got engaged, got married, had 4 children, and he loses 3 of those 4 kids. In 1843, he appeared in Congress. He lost. 1845, he lost again. In 1850, his son died. In 1854, he ran for the Senate and lost. In 1856, he ran for vice president. He didn't even get 100 votes. In 1858, he ran again and lost. And in 1860, he was elected president of the United States. Well, he's president. No, guys, when you look at that long list of things that have happened in his life, most of us would have retreated, given up, run away, or done something. But that's not what God's called us to do. In fact, instead of running, there's going to be times where we not only do we move forward, but even stand. In Ephesians, it tells us to stand 3 times. Stand still. It's interesting because that emotion of flight can get a hold of us if we let it. And we start thinking one crazy thing after another. We just wanted to retreat. We want to run. We need to set our emotion aside and get out of our head and check where our heart is. Was our heart steadfast after him? Is it after his word? Or is it in the circumstance? And we've completely forgotten about faith and who we are and who God says we are. And we walk, instead of walking around with courage, we walk around with fear. I want to remind you that the mountains that we face could be governments and nations and kingdoms. But those mountains are surmountable. With Yeshua, he told us that we put our armor on, yes, and it's built by faith in his word. It's built from his character, and we're supposed to be reflections of him. We're supposed to be the light in the midst of darkness. We're not supposed to faint. Proverbs 24:10 says, if you faint in the day of distress, your strength is small. And I'm not going to do a lot of teaching here, but Rapha, that word for faint means to drop it and let go. And trust, what we do is we let go of that fear and we trust in him. We can't soften our stance and run. We have to stand strong and remember that he's hedged us in. Just as a reminder of what I've said here on this network before, being hedged in by Yah is a sure thing when we've got us. You can't touch, the enemy can't touch you unless Yah says it's okay. Because hedge, sachak, that word means he's our covering and protection. But it's also interwoven with this idea of weaving or intermingling. To get to Job, the enemy had to cause God to remove his hand, to unmingle, if that's a word, himself around Job. And that's the way he could get to him, or if Job started walking contrary to the word. But there's another word that's a root word for that's savak, and it has something even that adds to that meaning. And it means covering and intermingling or woven or weaving, just like the other one. But it's not just a covering or weaving of protection, because it is that. It's also a covering, a weaving of passionate love. So understand this. If you are hedged in, he's hedged you in with protection and love. He's got you. We trust in him. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. We're not supposed to run away with that what ifs. We're not supposed to run away in fear and get off track where he's called us. We are supposed to stand, as Joe says, armor up, stand on his word, trust in him that he's got you and that he's going to remove the obstacles ahead, just as a good shepherd does. And then instead of retreating, we move forward. We get to standing upon his word, sometimes standing still as we're moving forward. How do you do that? Well, that God will move you forward, but you stand and not be moved by the enemy and his tactics. And you get to the place where you're supposed to go to. You get to that place where that blessing will flow. And in the midst of it, you enjoy the journey there because you know that you trust him and trust in him. He's got you and he will never leave you, nor will he forsake you, for he's hedged you in with his love. He's hedged you in with his protection. He's intermingled it all about you so that you don't have to worry. You don't have to fret. So when those emotions of run, this is difficult, run, this is hard, you aren't going to be able to handle this. If you don't retreat, then you may lose what you have. If you don't go away, what if you're in the wrong place? You must run. No, you stand on his word, you stand on his promises, you stand on his love, his justice, his mercy, remembering that greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. Remembering that no weapon formed against you will prosper, and every tongue that's risen up against you in judgment, you shall condemn, for that's your heritage. Remembering that he is your all in all, and he is the one that stands in the gap. He is the one that takes the arrows, but you move forward. For you are in the army of Yah, but you have Adonai Zavaot. You have the Lord of hosts with you on your side. So stand still, but move forward. Move forward. Don't run. Stand on his word and know who you are. All right, Mark.
Hey, where'd that come from?
Run, Mark. Don't run.
Well, hey, did you, speaking of movies, were we speaking of movies? Do you know what Forrest Gump's password is?
I can't
One,
say that.
Forrest, one.
Ah.
There are times when you need to run. Forrest Gump needed to run, but not with what you're talking about, because how do you know? But you should know, if you're following the Spirit, you should know that it's most likely, if you're following God's plan and you're living out the life that he has set before you to do and to follow and to be the Lord's servant, that the Lord is most likely pre-making that plan up for you anyway. So if you come in and you fail at doing something, then the Lord just has the next step already ready for you. So don't run away from it. Realize that it's the Lord that lays the best plans out. And of course, I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to all that you were lining out, and thinking about Lamb, and all. We've gone over 10 years now with Lamb, and Sandi, you've been with us almost from the beginning. You've actually seen Lamb have high points and low points, high points and low points. There are times when Lamb has gone through a major change because something has happened that would most normally make people run. Okay, I can't do this. This is not working, so fine. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll go on to the next thing or whatever like that. But of course, there's people like you and I who can't just sit around and eat York peppermint patties all day and eat waffles, but we have to be into the next project or continuing the project that we're on. We don't run. Sandy, you and I don't run. We know that the Lord has a plan for us. He has whatever the desires of our heart to do and to make work. The Lord will find a way, or he'll set you up with the next step of the plan. If you run, you're not running away from what you failed at. You've run away from the Lord's plan.
That's good.
See? And that's the way my mind has to work with it. Right now, Lamb is going through a couple of situations. And it would be real easy for me to just say, fine, this is not working, or this has been a great run for over 10 years. So fine, let's, I got the other things I can do. I've got a movie in there I can just go watch right now. Wait, hold up. I have 600. No, sorry. I can just sit around and I got things I can do outside. No, I have got to make sure that Lamb is going, and I can't physically look at the circumstances that seem to be in front of me. I can't look at the bank accounts. I can't look at the way people treat me and say, "Oh, I'm done. I can't do this." It's like I'm so tired of all of it. I'm 67 years old, Sandy. I'm not just a youngling like you, I get tired. I get overwhelmed, and with a lot of different things that I'm working on. I'm painting my tiny house. Okay, I can't run from that. I've got to finish painting my tiny house. I've got, several different things that I'm working on and everything. I can't run. I have to keep going. And actually, I would venture to say, for most people, running will put you in such a frame of mind that it will cause you to not have happiness. But if you stick with it, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what you have to go through, if you'll stick with it and keep going, the Lord will bring you through that step and into the next step, and the next step will make everything work out. How many times with Lamb have we changed formats? And do you think those formats just came in the mail or just landed on my computer? Do you think? No. I have to go out there. I know what the format needs to be, but I don't know anything about how to do it or what to do. Nobody's ever trained me. We've gone through several changes in formats with Lamb, and they've always progressed. We've never fell behind. We've always progressed, but we've gone through changes because we had to, and I had to go out there and find out how to put those together to make this happen. The old Lamb Radio, MessianicLambRadio.com, the old Lamb days, Sandy, there were 8 different softwares that all had to run at the same time for it to work. I had to, I'm a point there, Mark did it. Mark didn't do it. The Lord showed me step by step. He brought it forth to me. Okay, this works with this. This works with this. Put these together and voila, there it is. Okay, and it's the same thing with what you're watching today. You think that I bought a website that has a television station on it? No. Wix doesn't come that way, and I use Wix for my website. I literally had to go in there and put right now, there are 6 softwares all running at the same time, just so you can watch Sandi. 6 different softwares, but there's 10 different entities that go together. But I have to, the Lord keeps making them go. And if I run up to a brick wall, then I just find the entrance that the Lord has for me to get through that brick wall onto the other side. The Lord makes the gate. And you can't back down. You can't run from it. I can't. Maybe you can, but I would say if you run from things, you're constantly in a state of mind that is unhappy. That's the way I would look at it.
You know what, though? It doesn't mean I don't feel like running. I can't tell you how many times I've felt like just running.
Exactly.
And running away. And it gets heavy, when people come against you that you've loved in your congregation and that you tried to take care of, or just you just want to run, or when the finances are hard, when people aren't giving and tithing, and that's the way. I mean, I'm sorry. It costs money to have the Lamb Network. It costs money to have a church or a building and electricity and things like that, and to take care of the kids and the prison ministry, etc. And when people won't give, it's just like you just want to run and quit.
Right.
And it takes everything I have sometimes not to run away. Yep. When you're faced with, with family crisis, with Jonathan, I just wanted to run away from everybody and never see anybody again. Those were my first reactions. So just because we're not running doesn't mean we haven't felt like it. Like the temptation hasn't been there, because it's so hard. Sometimes what we're facing is so hard. But as you said, running would remove us from Yah's plan. And the safest and best place to be is in the center of his will, even if the circumstances are hard and it takes everything you have to stand and not run. Because trust me, I've been there, Mark's been there, but I want to encourage you, fight that feeling that wants to run and turn tail, and don't do it. Right. Stand.
That's right. Stand strong.
Yeah.
All right. Good word. I like it. You always come up with the best stuff, so.
Oh, Mark, you say that to everybody.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not everybody comes up with.